to this new stream of Las Plumas de Simur, a stream that finally falls on the day that it is supposed to. Happy Thursday to all of you, and apologies for the chaos. I don't know if I should say that because we all here for the chaos. I am a very chaotic person myself, but I thought I had managed. I thought I had improved and made myself a wee bit better, meaning that supposedly I was going to keep a schedule that was fixed, on Twitch at least. Apparently not, so I'm very happy to be here celebrating chaos with you, all my bacha. How is everyone, and welcome to a fantastic, wonderful, incredible stream about the mythological forest, and you know I'm going to enjoy this so much because it contains mythology, Mazdaism, Zoroastrianism, Zarathustra, philosophy, old characters that are becoming new characters. I am rambling so much, but because I am so happy that I finally managed to complete this script and I am bringing you this topic because my patrons chose to, so thank you, patrons. By the way, you have to vote. Time is up for voting. I mean, not time's not up. It is time to vote. I can't English today. I mean, I never can, but today especially. And the moment has come for you to choose. And so far, only 2 people have voted. I'm not gonna say if it was fitting my predictions or not, but just 2 people have been voted, and you are paying for this privilege, so go. You voted for your favorite. There's multiple choices though. You can vote for 2 if you want to, not for Rose, because I know you. I remember that because I'm gonna tell you why. Because I remembered that I am supposed to allow multiple choice in the poll, so I deleted everything and I posted it again just to feature, to make it feature the multiple choice thing. So yeah, I did this for you, and I would be very appreciative if you could go and vote for another. You could vote for all 3 though. That could backfire easily. Hi Pato, hello Loco, hola Loco. Hi Eric. You always working though. No, I don't like how much they're exploiting you. I need to talk to your boss or something. So yeah, these can backfire very quickly because now Noseros can just vote for everything, which fair. I mean, again, he's earned that privilege of voting his heart away. How's everyone? Before jumping into the wood and the resting, I was going to say the meat and potatoes, but not. I wanted to make it accurate for today's topic. So before jumping into the wood, the bark and the resting of today's topic, I wanted to ask you something, and it's 2 days ago when I had the stream in Spanish, because chaos, as we were discussing, when it coincided with International Book Day, or at least I think it is International Book Day. We celebrate that in Spain, and I was given a round of recommendations because you, Bachar, asked me so much about books and books that I like and books that I recommend. So I still have my pile of books here. Would you be interested in me showing these books to you? Because if not, fair, I'm just going to jump right into it and then put these babies back whenever I'm finished the stream. But do you want me to give you the titles or just to show them to you for a moment? Because most of them are in English. Not because I think reading in English is fancier. It's just because, unfortunately, there's so much still to translate and to bring into Spanish or to make in Spanish language history, in art history, that I just happen to have a considerable amount of books that are solely in English. Do you do? Oh yeah, let's see your books. Okay, yeah, for sure. These are my favorite books. What do I mean with this? It's not hi, it isn't. How are you? I'm just gonna give a list of recommendations for books if you want to read. Some of them are easier to start with, meaning that I would recommend them for like a first approach to some of the topics. I would point those to you. But others are just my favorite books, and I enjoy reading them, and I had such nice experience from it. So, oh wait, this week is a particularly nasty one at work because we have to change our laptops, and so we need to do our jobs and also install all tools on the new laptops. That sounds painfully time consuming, so I am sending a lot of love to you, as well as this big mug of tea. Have it. You can have it. I mean, I can make another one, but this one's for you. This is one of my favorite black tea. So here you have it. You can have it, Eric. Just take it. Take it with you. Take it. Take it. It's piping hot though, mind you, because I just made myself I just made myself the Cooper. So if you want to, I can safeguard this until you get it. So I will safeguard it inside my body. I'm gonna drink it for you. But yeah, no more serious note. Don't worry, we're gonna be seeing each other so soon, and I am over the moon about that. And yeah, it's going to be so good, Annie. Okay, so books. I'm going to move Lulu June over here because I'm starting with this one. I would heavily, adamantly recommend if you want to start learning about the Iranian past and the history of the Achaemenids. Is A History of Ancient Persia by Maria Brosius and published by Wiley. This one is from 2021, I think, and if it's not, it's 2022, but it's quite recent. And the part I like the most about it is that it doesn't, given that it is a more modern, that is, a book is a more modern work, it doesn't rely so much, it doesn't support the research so much on just Hellenistic sources or Hellas sources. Rather, it offers primary analysis on Achaemenid sources, which I think is fundamental because, yeah, the Achaemenids could write, and they did indeed, but something happened, and we lost many of the sources, and examines material that's rarely covered in non-specialistic texts like royal inscriptions and documents, and what is more interesting, recent archaeological finds. So these is one of my go-to, and it's very, as you can see, it's not a big chunk at all, and I do recommend this a lot. And there's also Umberto, I don't know if you're going to be listening to this here, but Maria Brosius also has another book called The Persian Empire from Cyrus II to Artaxerxes I, which I think you would enjoy enormously. So yeah, this one for certain, for sure. Oh, thank you, No Soy Rosa. It's very useful. Okay, this book, this is a gem. It's one of my personal treasures. This is called Medieval Persia by David Morgan. This book, it has been 10 years since I bought it. It is from the 80s, is a way worn out, but still is so good and so fantastic if you want to learn about the period that quote unquote we call medieval. I don't use this designation anymore. I don't call it Medieval Persia because I think is not the title I would use at all, given how much I know now. But this book is fantastic. It's thin enough, it is condensed, but not in a convoluted way, and it covers. It's a bird's eye view, of course, because within this, how many surviving Achaemenid sources are there? Are there few enough to fit into a single volume? A bookshelf. That definitely a bookshelf, I would say, because we have administrative tablets and then royal inscriptions a lot, and some Aramaic documents and letters. So there's multiple Achaemenid sources, and more of them are getting discovered by the day. So I would say a bookshelf, definitely a big chunky one. So as I was saying, this one covers the traditionally called Medieval Persia, but I don't think that is a proper way of describing it. But the empire, I think, about the Achaemenids, anyway, and these discusses the major political powers of these centuries: the Seljuks, the Mongols, the Timurids, the Safavids, and I think it's important to learn about all the people that were relevant in Iran in this century. So I don't know if this is on print anymore. I got this, I want to say second hand, but I'm pretty sure it's the third or the fourth hand because it's so worn out and it's full of post-its and I've worked so much with this. So yes, I 100% recommend this. This one's special. This one is a comic slash illustrated book, is Lugar Luanda. If I hadn't had these one with me, I would have recommended to you The Matter of Arata, translated by Vanshti Put. And I love this one. I really like this one because it's a story, it is adapted for children, but it has such beautiful images and illustrations like this. This is the zoo bird, Anzu, and it's a summarized version of the story of Lugar Albanda, nicknamed by my vizier as the first superhero because he is. And I love this. Look at these illustrations. He is gorgeous, isn't he? Oh, I really, really like it. It's illustrated by Jen Ray and it's narrated by Kathy Henderson. And again, this is a treasure. I got this on Amazon ages ago, but I do recommend it. It's a much lovelier way of reading part of the Matter of Arata, which in my view, solely this is personal, in my view, Lugar Luanda's story is the most beautiful from the Matter of Arata. And I think if you just want to enjoy the story, reading the translation by Vanshti Put, because it's a critically edited text, it can be daunting and a wee challenging. However, these adaptation in such a children's book format of the story of Lugar Albanda just gives you the story and the narrative, and you can enjoy it in an easier way. So if that's what you want to do, go for it, I would say. This book, I read it 4 times, start to finish. I'm not joking about this. And it's wonderful. And I am actually very jealous because this is the book I would have loved to write myself. It's called Astronomy and Astrology in the Islamic World. You can see it is thin, is concise. It's a perfect summary on how the astronomic and mathematical job was done in the Islamic world. And it's excellent. I cannot recommend it enough. I have a say in here that says quote. I have a post-it marked here, and it says quote below. Oh, about the Marare Observatory. Yes, because the book is focused around the cities, the main cities in which astronomy and astrology were performed. I don't know if that's a proper word to use, but they were the main disciplines in there. And we have Samarkand, Istanbul, Shah Jahanabad, Marore, of course. Yes, it's another famous stream, and actually it's one of my favorites too. We also have Isfahan and all the cities in Al-Andalus. So this is incredible. Check it out if you can. Next, of course, manuscripts and Qazvini. This book, okay, this is a much more academy oriented book. It's by Edinburgh University Press, and it's the study Stefano Carboni did about the copy of the Ilkhanate London Qazvini, which is a manuscript. It's a manuscript, a copy of the Ajaib al-Makhlukat. We talked about this last season where we were discussing the Ajaib literature. And the wonderful part for me about this is that of course, you have the whole thesis and what's the word I'm looking for? Brainy, yeah, the brainy, thick analysis of the text and the illustrations. But then the second half of the book is the manuscript translated. So you can actually read what the Frank Sinatra was going on in these illustrations, and you can follow the book. I said I would do a book club with this because I want you to read Ajaib al-Makhlukat. It's one of the funniest, most entertaining readings I had the chance to enjoy. But I never did. Maybe one day. Not as thick and heavy in content is the following one, which I also recommend for starters, which is this beauty. Islam, Arabs, and the intelligent world of the jinn. If you want to learn about the jinn, this is the book you have to consult. This is definitely the book for you. And it is so, hi, Serapis. I'm good. I'm just giving away, no, I'm not giving away books. I wish I had the money and the capacity to do so. But I am listing my favorite books because we are commemorating El Día del Libro, although it's 2 days after, but this is fantastic. It's a very concise analysis of the main beliefs about the jinn and the main types and classes, and it's just very entertaining as well. It's very educative and enjoyable to read. Yes, I would say so. Okay, this one is in Spanish, and I think it must be something similar. There must be something similar out of the world in English because it is about Henri Corbin. If you don't know who Henri Corbin was, he was an Iranologist and Islamologist that focused his research on philosophy and Islamic Sufism in the Iranian plateau. And this is the encounter with the angel. This is an awful light. I don't know why the book is doing so, but this encounter with the angel is one of his texts. It says in here 3 visionary tales commented and noted by Henri Corbin, because Henri Corbin and I shared something, and it is that I am obsessed with the figure of Sohrawardi. Sohrawardi was an Iranian philosopher, actually the father of the school of illumination, the Hidmat al-Ishraq, and he was such a character. He was so challenging and so feisty in his words and so different for his time. In fact, his ideas got him beheaded, so you can imagine. And I think we all have to include Sohrawardi at some point in our life because it's such interesting the way in which he recovered the ancient Iranian Mazdian knowledge and incorporated it to an Islamic version, looking through the Islamic lens and adapting it to the new circumstances. The Hidmat al-Ishraq, these school of school of elimination, wanted to bring both currents of thought together. And it's brilliant how he did so. I had to read Sohrawardi for my thesis because, of course, Simorgh features in his works. And I think it's not the part that I enjoyed the most, but definitely out of the whole chapter I wrote on Sufism, it was incredible. It was such an experience. It was enlightening and mind-breaking at some points, mind-blowing at some points. But yeah, I am a very big fan of Sohrawardi, although I must admit he's not the easiest to approach. No, reading Sohrawardi in Persian was a nightmare because my Persian at that time was not, I mean, now it's worse, but at that time was not that good. So I had to, it was like 2 words dictionary, a word dictionary, and dictionary. So I remember I asked my Persian teacher for help, and she asked me why I was doing that to myself, why I was torturing myself by reading Sohrawardi in Persian, because it's 12th century Persian. And I had to admit I didn't know why, but the text was in Persian. I really wanted to read the original source, so I did. I lost many brain cells and grey hairs appeared on my head, but I think to this day it still was worth it. Following with Sufism, we have Henri Corbin, Spiritual Body and Celestial Earth, from Mazdian Iran to Shia Iran. This is exactly what I was talking about. This is how Henri Corbin condensed in a book how the process of adaptation of philosophy was in Islam. And I have so many notes in here. I worked with this book so much. And he created, I have the book even noted, something like this is something different, the immortals in here. It's just how this book explains the process and how the Mazdaism and the Mazdayasna philosophy made it via Sohrawardi and other authors into Islam, and how this philosophy was incorporated in Islamic time. And I think it's fantastic. I love this book. I have so many books about Corbin. But the thing with Corbin, I would say, is either you hate him because he is intense I would say, or you really enjoy it. So fair to you, you don't enjoy reading Kochman. He's not as academic as other scholars, I would say. He's not scholarly enough for some people. Fair. Yes, you were right. But that's exactly what I liked about him when I started reading it. It was, you could really feel the passion in all his words. So perhaps he was not scholarly enough, but definitely there was this sentiment, this connection to whatever he was sharing and putting into words with the general public. Because imagine this, if we don't know about this now, we rarely talk about the impact of Mazdian philosophy in Islamic Iranian philosophy. He wrote this in the 70s and 60s. This was groundbreaking at the time. Hello, Aquila, how are you? How long no see you? You good? Are you okay? It's such a pleasure having you here. Finally, this is also one of my favorite books. Like, okay, so the green screen is doing this no favors, but it's called Chinese Thought from Confucius to Ding. I enjoyed tremendously when I had to learn about Chinese mythology, Chinese philosophy, Chinese history during the period my thesis lasted. And I have many books about China behind me and so more on my computer, but this is the one I definitely will highlight because it's she thick. We thick, but it's just a nice book to have and consult. I don't know. It was a nice experience reading it. I haven't read it entirely. I focus on, let me tell you, because my posters fell. Oh, yeah, I focus on the first half of the book because it was about the middle part of the book, because it was about between the Sui dynasty, the Tang dynasty, and the Yuan dynasty. Those were the ones I was consulting, and I really liked it. And I feel my knowledge about China in any capacity was utterly terrible. Wrongs must be righted, and this is the one. Okay, as a bonus, I bet no one is seeing this coming. As a bonus, I want to recommend the book that is half of my personality and the reason why I am here today on Twitch. This book. Hi, Umberto, how are you? I want to recommend to you the Book of Kings. Please do read the Shahnameh. Read the Shahnameh, listen to the Shahnameh. If you can read Persian, go for the original ones. There's so many wonderful editions. This is one of the best books ever written in the history of literature. And this is the Hill I Will Die On. It's wonderful. Everything condensed in this book is fantastic in one way or another. I recommend this one, the translation by Dick Davis, edited by Penguin, because it's the most complete one in English that I could find. Although there's other versions and there's other editions and other publishing houses that also have what I would consider a good edition of it. But the main reason I recommend the Dick Davis's one is because it is in prose. And if you want, again, it happens the same with the comic of Lugal Banda. If you don't want this for scholarly purposes, although I've used it and it's quite okay, and in my opinion, I'm not going to be classy and nosy up here. If you just want the story, if you just want to learn the narrative, definitely purchase this book. Definitely get this one because it's going to be so much easier to read in prose than in verse. In verse is complicated and also very respectful translation, sorry. And what I mean by this is I'm referring to translations that aim to maintain the spirit of what Ferdowsi was writing are not easy or manageable if this is the first approach you have to Persian literature. So I would 100, 200, 300% recommend this one. And because this Plumas over here she is her own community manager, and although it is not, unfortunately, it's not in English, at least not yet. I have no idea if this could be something in one day. I want to recommend you a final book, which is I'm going to remove the green screen for a moment, which is my book. maybe you can read Spanish, or maybe just want to have it. I don't know. This is my book, Más allá de la luz, Journey and the Journey of the Soul, which is an essay in which I take Journey, the 2012 PlayStation game, and use it to explain to you Iranian Sufism. So yes, so Hrabardi features in this book, also the Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. There's also a lot of modern content related to Iranian Sufism, because I bet you didn't think you could find Iranian Sufism in video games. Well, think again, because this is my book, and I recommend it to you in case you like video games, enjoy video games, and want to learn a bit more about Iranian Sufism. I think it can still be purchased. Thank you, no soy Ros, qué bonito eres, por Dios. Thank you so much for your sharing of all the links, Wesley. You bought that game 2 weeks ago. The game is just... What am I going to tell you? I love the game so much. I wrote a whole book about it. It's really unfortunate that the green screen cannot, get the nice teal color, because I love the cover. This one is a bit worn out. It's because it's red. It's from someone else. I am guarding this book for someone, and yeah, that's it. It's just if you want to. I don't know if I will translate it ever, or if I can do so. But yeah, oh, thank you, no soy Rose. You are my most beloved Bizia too, so that checks out. Okay, so this is everything I had to discuss regarding books and book recommendation. Allow me to light up my candle. How do you light? Can you show fire on Twitch? Okay, because I want to know, how do you light up your matches? Do you do this? Because I do this. Like, I hit them. And apparently that's not what most people do. I think it is what most people do. Because that is what my entire family does. And we are a bunch, let me tell you that. Also, how's the sound quality? How can you hear me? Is it like... is it too stammery? Can you hear like I am too close to the microphone or something? Because again, the audio settings are all over the place and I haven't touched anything. So you sound good now. What do you mean now? Does this mean I didn't sound good before? Or like, I'm sorry, I just want to know before jumping into the topic. And I'm going to wait because there's like these 15 minute, yeah, claro, minute. I mean in general. Oh, thank you, Umberto. I sound. That's it. I was gonna say something. You know what? I'll tell you after next week. I light my fires badly. Are you a pyromaniac? Like Cascada's famous song, Pyromaniac. That tells you a lot about how old I am. Okay, but yeah, so today we are venturing into the incredible sacred Aryan forest. There's a lot to be said about the forest, so I'm going to make a wee bit of a disclaimer before starting. All the images you are going to see today belong to Iranian landscapes. And yes, I know that it's difficult to perhaps convey, given how poorly the geography of the Middle East has been transmitted to us here in the West. But yes, this is an Iranian forest. If I'm going to be more precise, this is the Gilan forest, the forest of the northern province of Gilan. And the part more likely the Pinguino Mirtesoro. So all the pictures, I've carefully selected them to be Iranian forests because I want to use this opportunity to, kill two birds with a stone, which I hate that idiom. Do you have a synonym for that? Because killing birds is not something I would endorse whatsoever. So yeah, I wanted to tick two boxes at the same time because one, we're talking about the Iranian sacred forest, and second, I want to combat the orientalistic thought that the Middle East is just basically covered in sand. and has this, we could say, orange to slightly brown colored filter. And that's basically the ecosystem that exists there. Why actually, I want to take this opportunity to show you a map a map of Iran, and tell you that, yes, in antiquity, back in the day, there was possibly more woods and more the ugly orange filter, definitely the desert filter. Terrible. Yet here we are. Back in the past, there were possibly much more woods scattered through the Iranian plateau, but you can still see them, and more precisely, you can see how there's this belt around this rim of green up in the north, adjacent to the Caspian Sea, that I never know how to address to. I don't know how to say, how to talk about it. I don't know whether to say it is. Hopefully it will continue to be. Because the Caspian Sea, yes, that is that northern mass of water over there, and around it, the climate is quite different from the rest of Iran. It is colder, it is much more humid, and is notoriously known for having these forests and these woods that are very thick and foggy, misty, and very humid. I know it's quite shocking. Again, it's not your fault. It's just because we're not transmitted this. And in the southern part of Iran, there's also forests. There's bushy areas as well. But I wanted to show you that there's forests in the Middle East. Absolutely, they are. And we're going to start with one of my favorites. These could be taken out of Lord of the Rings. This is Lavish, which is another northern province. And if you remember from the reading of the Shahnameh, if you've been around listen about it, and if not, let me tell you, in the Shahnameh, there's a northern province called Mazandaran. Mazandaran is the place where the supernatural dwells in the Shahnameh, more particularly the jinn/the Deevs. And the jungles of Mazandaran are very famous in the book, in the narrative, in the world building of the Shahnameh. The forests of Mazandaran are very known because they are special. There's a certain aspect of magic around them, and there is this essence of strangeness because the forest is where the supernatural creatures occasionally dwell. Not just here in the Iranian mythology, just like in general. But today I wanted to talk about something very interesting, at least that caught my attention, because it is a topic that very little is known and written about. And this is the importance of the forest or the grove in mythological Iran. If you read the title, you could see that I named this stream the Aryan Sacred Forest. And I would tell you, I don't know if I should tell you now or later, what do I mean by Aryan Sacred Forest? I don't know, I think I'm going to save it for the end as a colophon for all the speech. But yeah, we'll get there. So the context, I'm going to, first of all, the context. I showed you Hua, which is the Iranian plateau, more particularly the north of what it currently is Iran. Although we will be, to be completely fair, this topic would be covering something that we call visionary or mythological geography. What is that? Those are the spaces that occur in collective imagination and in collective mythology, meaning that the spaces we're referring to are not exact locations, although they could be based on real location and inspired by real life places. But visionary geography and mythological geography refers to the mental spaces that sacred texts describe. And in this particular case, we're going to talk about the forest. And why is this? Because very little is known about the mythological or religious significance of the forest in ancient Iran. We actually don't know exactly what the role of these forests were, but by doing an analysis of the Avestan and Pahlavi text, that is the sacred text from Mazda-Yasna, from Zoroastrianism, we might get a taste, at least like a slight idea. So this is where the second part of the context comes in. When? When? When is this happening? Right, because I mentioned Avestan texts. Here's a catch. The literature of the Avesta. Let me think. Let me think for a moment. The literature of the Avesta was actually started to be written down with the Sassanids. If you were following So You Think You Can Rule Persia, you know about this. But at some point in time, around the 6th, late 5th, early 6th century, both religious and political powers came to an agreement, and the texts from Zoroastrianism started to be written down. That doesn't mean this was created anew. Quite the opposite, I would say. The religious knowledge would have been around for roughly a millennia. That is 1,000 years. Yes, Khosrow and Friends. Don't we love Khosrow and Friends? Not that Khosrow, no soy Ros. No, not Kai Khosrow. Khosrow, the Khosrow Parviz. The actual real king. No es el niño de los mares, ¿vale? Es otro niño. And there you go. Thank you so much, soy Ros. So, when these texts were written down, they wanted the effort was put into gathering all the Mazayasna and creating an established doctrine that the official religion could follow, because at some point in history the Sasanians became quite adamant that the only religion of the empire must be Zoroastrianism. And I let me emphasize that they were quite intense about it. And do you remember when we were talking about the Achaemenids, there was this idea not of religious freedom, but they didn't care that much what religion their subjects followed, as long as they paid taxes and behaved properly. The Sasanians, on the other hand, really wanted the spine of the empire to be both a joint effort between military force, political practices, and religion. Therefore, the only allowed cult and belief in the empire from this moment onwards was Mazayasna Zoroastrianism. Doing these effort, making this effort of putting this text together aided that intention and reinforced that idea of there's one religion with one book, with one text. And also bear in mind all the religions, monotheistic religions of the book, were started with not yet the Islam, because this would be like 100 years or so before Islam and before Muhammad, but definitely Christianity and Judaism played an important part in writing down the Zoroastrian texts. So the chronology for the Avestan is actually quite tricky, because as I was saying, the knowledge contained inside could be traced back up to a millennia. So we will be talking about centuries and centuries of knowledge. But also, it was not a one-time thing, meaning that everyone sat down in the scriptoriums and started writing. Rather, the Avestan text kept on being composed and gathered and written up until the 12th and 13th century. So this is the span. This is the very vast timeline in which we are going to find ourselves. Mostly we are going to focus on two types of literature. First is the literature written in Avestan, which is the oldest one and the most ancient, which are the Yests. The Yests, sorry. And then we will move to Middle Persian / Pahlavi literature, originary from the Sasanians, but copied in the 8th and 9th century. So why do I say this? Because even though the knowledge is ancient, of course, each time has its own circumstances and details. Therefore, the intention behind this varied quite notoriously. And I posted on the chat the avesta.org, which is the most amazing website to consult Zoroastrian archives and Avestan text. The translations are there, the originals are there, and there was a time in my life in which I spent an obscene amount of hours just traveling in this, getting myself lost into these pages. So, without further ado, let's start talking about our main protagonist, which is the forest. The word forest occurs in two shapes, we could say. We have the Avestan word rasura, which I think is beautiful. It is the most wonderful name in the history of names for a forest, rasura. The day, I'm really sorry for interrupting myself, the day that Middle Eastern based fantasy really kicks in, I'm going to be the happiest, honestly. Yeah, the word rasura evolved to Middle Persian razur, and then we also have another term in Pahlavi, which is a more common, actually, like much more common than rasura, which is this. It's a difficult one for me to pronounce. Veshag, Veshag. Yeah. Sorry. It's you should now, like at this moment, my brain is a shipwreck because I'm talking in English, but I am pronouncing in Persian, which is far closer to my Spanish mother tongue in pronunciation. So, so the former, the rasura forest, occurs mostly in the Avestan text when it's connected to war campaigns or battles that were fought near a forest. And among many of them, one that actually called my attention, because I'm a big fan of Lord of the Rings, is the Spoetitia rasura, which means the white forest. Incredible. Salam, Captain! Aye, aye! So I'm going to show you another forest. I want to show you the Sisangan forest because, again, this could be Galicia. I live in the north of Spain, and these could be around the corner of my house. It's wonderful. But no, it's Sisangan. It's still the north of Iran. Okay, so I said that. Oh, sorry, I'm going to move my nose over here. So I said that we have these mysterious white forests. And actually, the conversations about it are many because we don't know exactly what it is or what it refers to. Today, we are going to learn about this white forest because it has many occurrences in the section of the Avesta. But it's not just in the Avestan texts. It is maintained over time. It happens repeatedly, and that indicates an importance for the ancient Iranian tradition. I just scratched myself in the chin and it really hurt. Ay, me hace daño. Qué largas tengo las uñas. My nails are very long. I need to cut them. So, the first place we are going to look today is the yashts. What are the yashts? So, dear Bacha, I'm so happy you ask. The yashts are part of the first corpus of books called the Horda Avesta, the small Avesta. It's not small at all. I think the name is quite ironic, but still, I need to translate it to you. So, the Horda Avesta, which is the book of common prayers, is one of the earliest sources we have, and it is composed of different hymns to different deities. And this is where mostly all the yazatas are found. We have, of course, we have the immortals, and we have multiple deities that we might know of. For example, if you've been here around, Mitra or Meher would be familiar to your ears. Also, Saraush or Saraush has two yashts because the guy was popular. We have, of course, the Bahram yasht, which is the yasht dedicated to Verethragna, the favorite of this one, and please do read the Bahram Yas because chef's kiss. But in the different mentions to deities and his different prayers and poems dedicated to them, we find these forests. The very first one that we have is found in the Aban Yasht, and this Aban Yasht is dedicated to the water. Where is it? Oh, I have it here. it is the yas dedicated to Anahita. And Anahita, if you don't know who she is, she was a favorite among the Sasanians. She was the Yazata in charge of protecting sacred waters. And she is, I always call her the Beyonce of the Mazian pantheon because, my God, she's fabulous. You can also see her on coronation reliefs and royal inscriptions because, again, she was the saint, the patron saint of the Sasanians. Okay, so in this Aban Yasht, we have a character, a king of all Aryan countries. When I say country, don't think about a country that is modern day conceived. It's much more like a kingdom. I'm going to use kingdom. I reckon that's a better word. So we have a character. He's called Hausrava. And Hausrava is the king of all the Aryan kingdoms. And he elevates a prayer to Arevdisura Anahita near a lake. And he's asking for something quite desperately. This king is asking Anahita not to allow someone crossing the forest, a murderer that's chasing him. Hausrava is asking to Anahita to save his life and to save him from this person that is, going to kill him, apparently. And I'm going to read you the passage because it's the verse 50 of the Yasht, and I have it here. He begged of her a boon, saying, "Grant me this, O good, most beneficent Arebdisura Anahita, that I may become the sovereign lord of all kingdoms, of Daevas and men, of the Yatus and the Pairikas, of the oppressors, the blind and the deaf, and that I might have the lead in front of all the teams, and that he may not pass through the forest. He, the murderer, who now is fiercely striving against me on horseback." Okay, so this is the first mention we have to the White Forest. A wee bit earlier in the Yasht, it is mentioned that it is, in these in this forest, it is mentioned. Just, I know, apologies, my notes, I crisscross some notes. So in this verse, we have for the first time this episode of King Hausrava, a king asking to a Yazata to stop the advance of someone that's aiming to kill him. Then we move to the next Yasht, which is the Ram Yasht. Who is Ram? That is a fantastic question because Ram is so many things. Ram is, that is difficult. Nature, we could say. Ram is nature. Ram is the space we inhabit. And it's difficult to explain to you in 2 minutes who Ram is. So we would say that them, I would say them. They are a very important Yazata that rules upon nature. And among their ministers, we have Vayuvata. Vayuvata is a Yazata of the winds, and another favorite of mine. I really like him because I always imagine him as an air nomad from Avatar, The Last Airbender. So in this Yasht, we have the ruler of another kingdom who offers a sacrifice to Vayuvata. And he says, towards the White Forest, by the White Forest, on the border of the White Forest. They mention it 3 times. On a golden throne, under golden beams and a golden canopy, and ask to be granted a favor. He's asking Vayuvata to protect him and his people from none other than King Hausrava himself. So we have this very strange occurrence in which one king in a Yasht is asking, "Please do not allow this murderer to come to me in horseback in the forest. Please, Anahita, don't grant these." And she does. And then on the other hand, we have the ruler of another tribe asking Vayuvata, "Please, please, please protect me and my people from the advance of Hausrava." What scholars believe is that House Raba had been fighting against this chief of the tribe who worshipped, and I quote again from the Yash, the White Forest, in that part of the White Forest known as the White Leaf Forest, in the middle of the White Leaf Forest. Like it's, and these chief asked Vayubata for help in sake of him and somebody, and not to be killed by House Raba and to escape from him. And the god the good news for this person is, yes, I know, oh, nudge nudge wink wink, I know we need a Yazata stream, but it's so, I have such a big imposter syndrome when talking about the Yazata in a much more scholarly oriented way, but I will definitely, because they are so interesting. So the interpretation is that House Raba was fighting against a tribe, and he prayed to Anahita while the chief of the tribe prayed to Vayuvata. But Vayuvata actually actually granted the wish to the chief of the tribe. And the forest appears to have a key role, whether to shelter the tribe that was fighting against Kaihosrava, or to protect House Rava from the menace that was this murderer coming towards him. And the thing is, Vayubata granted the wish, and the chief of the tribe avoided being murdered by House Rava. And it is a very strange passage, because House Rava's adversary, this chief, is placed among the righteous worshippers. Why? Because he's worshipping Ayazata, so he's clearly a follower of the Zoroastrian religion. And it's quite strange. And but then we come to the, sorry, I was reading my notes, I didn't space out. I'm going to show you some other forests. What do you say? I'm going to actually show you one of my favorite in Iran. This is the Sia Kaman, which is one of the peaks in Iran. Incredible. And then later, we learned that someone was defeated in the White Forest. Someone died in the White Forest. Who? We don't really know. And the thing is, I'd rather not say what the explanation is, because the Shahnameh, of course, takes this folk tale and adapts it. And luckily for me, I read this in Spanish way before making the biggest spoiler, because it has to do with the narrative arc we're currently reading. And let's just say that someone passes away in a very terrible manner, very much in the Shahnameh fashion. And it has to do with the White Forest. So one of the interpretations is that it could be something, these hoary woods could be something connected to snow. And I'm going to stop myself there. That's the reason why I chose these peak, because it's snowed. And also allow me to show you the most beautiful mountain on the surface of Earth, Mount Damavand. This is a volcano of 5,000 plus meter tall creator, and it's a beast, and I love it. It's wonderful. I know, for those who wouldn't do that, not at all. He would not murder one of our beloved characters in cold blood in front of our eyes. When? Just give me one example of when Ferdowsi has pulled off something like that. I'll wait. In tears, that is. So, that is everything we have in the Ram Yasht. Then we move to the Den Yasht. The Den Yasht is dedicated to another Yazata that is wonderful, because Den or Daina means consciousness. Sorry, like the I'm going to look up for the. I love that volcano. Is it active? No, it's sleeping. It has been sleeping for at least 1,000 years. Yeah, the conscience. That is a word for conscience, and in these in this Yasht features Chista, and Chista is the Yazata of the right way. She is the path to follow. See, so Yazatas don't have to be meteorological phenomena or like, natural elements, just fire, water, wind. No, quite the opposite. They could be anything. So in this Yasht, in the Den Yasht, there is a rasura incorporated in the words of Zarathustra himself, which is actually a double-edged sword. Why? Because I'm going to offer you the two possibilities. There's a side of the scholarly opinion that believes that Zarathustra, Zoroastro, actually existed, that he was a real person and he composed the Gathas and some of the texts himself, and that he is a real historical figure. The opposite opinion to that is that Zarathustra was created later to fill up the gap, the need, the necessity the religion had for a prophet, influenced by other prophetic religions like Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. The more I read and the more I investigate, the more I am of the opinion, the latter opinion. To me, Zarathustra did not really exist, was a figure created by the religion to enhance it somehow and to pair it up to the other three big religions. Because we are talking about a person that, if alive, would have been active around 1600 before Common Era, something like that. And given how the words are expressed in the Gathas and stuff, to me it appears to be something that was created ex professo, like purposefully for this, which is not something bad at all, and it doesn't diminish in any capacity the importance and impact of Zoroastrianism. But I think it's quite an interesting phenomenon that religions are so influential to each other that they start merging and being similar to each other. How many times in here we've said how much alike are Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, because they are very similar. In fact, a very recurring joke that I used to tell my students in class was that Islam was the result of copying the homework of a friend and changing it somehow. It is a joke, but it is real. It is getting a source and adapting it to different circumstances to fill and complete different necessities. Not something bad at all. Please don't think I am criticizing any religion. It's just a process of how human psyche and human spirituality works. And to me, the fact that Zarathustra starts to be relevant solely when the Sasanians are around showcases the influence of these religions, and to me, strengthens the idea of Zarathustra being created a posteriori. That means later. And because up to this point, you don't find Zarathustra in sacred texts. You don't find Zarathustra being highlighted in the Achaemenid royal inscriptions, the Parthian royal inscriptions, and the early Sasanians. He's nowhere to be found. And out of the blue, that's a reason why, sorry, I am digressing, but Zoroastrianism is my not guilty at all pleasure. That's the reason why some of us talk about Zoroastrianism only from the Sasanians and only from the moment the Avestan texts had to be written down, because up to this point, Zarathustra is not that relevant in the religious practice. Back to the Den Yasht. In the Den Yasht, the verses incorporated the words of the prophet himself, and he worships the Yazata Chista, and he says, "Let everything be as friendly to us as anything can be. May we go smoothly along the roads, find good pathways in the mountains, run easily through the forest, and cross happily the rivers." Why is this important? Because apparently traversing the forest was relevant for Zarathustra and for the religion at some point. It is very, very... sorry, what? I will pick up from there. I doubt it was a coincidence that the Jews created their own monotheistic religion immediately upon the return from Babylon. Uloko, I really like that you guys think like that, because religion is just a result of humans being humans. And humans influence each other. And that's not at all something bad. Be aware of those that would try to convince you there is something similar to purity in this world. The pure something something. If you hear the word purity, run in the opposite direction. Because to me, there is nothing more precious than syncretism. And the mixture is where the best ideas originate from. That's my opinion. So traversing the forest was something important, and it must have been so because it apparently was not that easy. It's not that easy crossing the forest if you have to invoke a Yazata to grant you the passage. And I know that Chista is the righteous path, and in a double, it's not a pun, it is a double significance in here. And I know that Chista is the Yazata of the right way, but the fact that Zarathustra was asking her specifically about granting him passage through the forest, the rivers, and the mountains speaks to us about something that is relevant and that my best friend beautifully highlights in her latest book. It's in Spanish exclusively, I'm really sorry, which is the forest as a hostile environment and the forest as something that is not that easy to manage depending on the circumstances you find yourself in. A little bit later, we have another we have another Yasht, the Zamyad Yasht, mentioning that there was a murderer that could not pass through the forest, and he wanted to kill, we know who, Hosrava. The king Hosrava was in danger, and this murderer could not go through the forest. We know already why, because Anahita was forbidding him to do so. And so, see, we have this episode of Hosrava and the White Forest multiple times. And if we have it in different hymns, that must be a reason for it to be very important. I'm going to put up another picture of a forest. Let's go back to Gilan. I like the and then we go we fast forward a wee bit in time and we get to the Parthian texts, not the original ones, unfortunately, but of Parthian origin, and we have a particular work, Ayordor e Zarizon, that celebrates the glorious past of ancient Iranian heroes. Does this ring a bell at all? Supposedly, these Ayordor e Zarizon, it's something like a proto Book of Kings. It is very interesting. I need to find out a little bit more, but I think it's fascinating because you can see how far back we can trace these dynasty lists. I mean, I know about the Sumerian royal list, but these Ayogdares Arizon, I really have to read it. So in this story, we have a detailed description of an episode about a great battle that occurred in the vicinity of a white forest. And when they mention the white forest, they say it is very famous and known to the rest of the people. And the Avestan heroes, among them we have King Bishtasp. Who is King Bishtasp? He is very important for Zoroastrianism because he supposedly, according to the folklore, he is the first person to convert to Zoroastrianism. So there is this battle, and the king and his brothers and sons, they triumph over the unfaithful, of course. And however, the Iranians suffered great losses, and several princes are killed in the process. And the battle side was determined to be again in the vicinity of the White Forest. And it says as following: there in the White Forest and Merv of Zoroaster, where there are neither high mountains nor deep gorges, but on this plain valley, the horses and brave footmen will have to resolve the battle. Okay, so this is actually the first mention of the forest in which there is a description. So no mountains, no gorges, but a plain valley. Odd. Because that would indicate that a forest is not a forest at all. It is something else. And this is where the scholars started debating. The manuscripts give the name Razvar. That could also be read as Razor, which is the word for forest. There was a scholar that created that considered that these was originating from a Parthian adaptation of the Avestan prototype, and that should be read in Middle Persian as Razur e Oruz, the White Forest. But all the people translated it as the empty forest or the plain valley, and so and so. So this is where the discussion started. What if it was not a forest at all? What is if it's something different? We have exactly the same word, Aruz Razur, in the Bundahizen. The Bundahizen is a book that I cannot recommend you enough. All of it is, the entirety of it is available on avesta.org. And the Bundahizen is an encyclopedia of the world with a detailed description of animals, mountains, rocks, minerals, insects. It is wonderful to read. Wonderful. It might be among my favorite Avestan books. But the thing is, the structure of the Bundahizen, the way it works, is that when it is describing a group of something, be it plants, animals, rocks, whatever, there is always a chief, quote unquote, a leader for these creatures. Why? Because this leader is not actually like a military person giving orders away. It's not like he's commanding anything, but rather the chief forest, the chief sea, the chief of the birds. It refers to these. Oh, how's the word in English? Primal. Yeah, these primal primitive idea that the rest derive from. It would be like the root of the idea. Is the main forest from the other forest come from. And in the Bundahizen, we have these two words, the Aruz Razur, mentioning both in the Indian and Iranian version, which is very important. Why? Because we know it's not a mistake, and we know that the knowledge was solid enough to be found in two versions of the same book, written in different contexts, in different languages, in different times, in different moments, in different places. So this white forest, this hoary forest, is the chief, is the leader of all the forest, and it is mentioned between two other mythical places, two other imagined spaces, the Daraja River, the Daraja River, which is the well-known place of birth of Saratosht, and the Hugur Mountain, the highest summit in the region. So we know for a fact that the White Forest is an imagined space, is a mythical space. It doesn't exist in reality. And this idea is reinforced by the inclusion in the Bundahizen of said place of the White Forest between two other mythical places, which is a river and a mountain. However, there is this branch of mythology scholars that attempt to find the origin or inspiration for these sacred imagined places, which I think is fantastic, because always there is an inspiration that could be, extracted from the surroundings. That is why, among many other reasons, I am very insistent, and I keep on telling you how important it is to us to know the context, and not just the political cultural context also, but the what's the word? I am very lucky in English today. The environmental, that is the word. That is a word I should know how to use. The environmental context and the things surrounding the people that are involved in the historical processes. Why is this? Because according to the later Zoroastrian tradition, the White Forest was in Merv, which is now Turkmenistan. And then we have another text, the apocalyptic Pahlavi text, Zande Bohuman Yasht, and the commentary to Bahman Yasht. Bahman, not to be mistaken with Bahram. Bahman is actually Bohumana, the good thought from the immortals, and Bahram is Berethragna, the Yazata of victory. So these apocalyptic texts gave us a retrospective of the great number of invaders, quote unquote, that Iran has had, and including some of them are the Byzantines, the Turanians, the Kayans, the Arabs, everyone. So you see, the Arabs are here. Therefore, this text was written after the 7th century. And according to this text, if apocalyptic text has something that I think delightfully enjoyable, is the resolution of Iran's fate. And according to this text, the fate of Iran would be resolved as a result of 3 great battles of the Kayanian dynasty against the quote-unquote 2-legged wolves. Allow me a digression here. The apocalyptic Zoroastrian literature is packed to the brim with fantastic, terrifying creatures. It is a source for monsters, monstrosities, and entities that they're so weird. There's this wolf. Okay, so there's this wolf that has 3 eyes. No one knows. It's like 2 lines, 2 verses, but it's a terrible, fearsome wolf with 3 eyes on one side of his head. 2 verses, that's everything that takes for me. And then the second battle, the second battle of the 3, would be won in the White Forest. So if it's placed on the apocalyptic text, it must have its importance, I reckon. No. And then we have in Middle Persian we have Razur, also attested in Sasanian toponymy. We have a place called Siya Razur, who could be interpreted as Siya Razur in modern Persian, which is the Black Forest. Or we have another Shah Razur, the Royal Forest. Both of them were located in the western part of the Sasanian Empire. And then we have all the names like Razura in Sogdian and in Panjigand. It happens over the whole territory of the Persianate. And then then we have the key to the key to solving this. Okay, so I'm saying in forest all the time, but previously I mentioned that some scholars believed that what if it was not a forest? In 1882, a scholar named Geiger, I think because it's in German, proposed the translation of Rasura as desert, wilderness, or desolate place. And after Piankov, which is a Russian scholar, it picked up from here and uphold the view that since these wars and battles and episodes were fought far to the west, it could be near the entrance to the White Desert, called also the Old Aryan Desert, which is a great desert of salt. Therefore, the White Desert in central Iran. Then I'm going to change again. Of course. Then we have Williams Jackson in 1899, who thought that the White Forest of this House Rava king could be a good deal of territory in Khorasan near the mountains of Mashhad and Nishapur. All the people located it in Kohistan between Beriand and Qain. And the Bundahism describes this battle near the Binalud mountain of Khorasan, close to some sacred places, such as the Burz and Meher fire, the forest, sorry, the Temple of Fire and the sacred cypress tree. I'm going to show you something. So you see, they place the different texts, the sacred white forest out of convenience. This is a real image of the great Sarv, the Sarve Abarku, which is the cypress tree of Abarku in Iran. This tree is 4,000 years old. It is, I think, among the 5 most ancient trees in the whole world, and it's wonderful. And I wanted to show you the real cypress and then the representation of the cypress tree in Persepolis. Not just because the relief on the limestone is carefully detailed and lavishly represented, but also because, you know, the cypress tree is a tree we've talked about so many times in here. We know, if you have either read or listened to me reading the Shahnameh, you know how it is quite fluffy in it. But there's people who are deadly allergic to the cypress tree. If you read the Shahnameh or listened to me, you know the cypress tree is a tree that was a synonym for royal prowess, physical beauty, physical power, height, and royalty, because most heroes and some foes as well are described as cypress tall, cypress-like tree. So in the text, this white forest is located supposedly close to a fire temple and then a cypress tree that was considered to be sacred. So again, where is it? We have no idea, because different interpretations allow for different locations. And then we have Mary Boyce. Mary Boyce is one of the most relevant scholars regarding Zoroastrianism that existed ever. And I really, really encourage you to read whatever she wrote. Her books about Zoroastrianism are very good introductory works, and I seriously go in the avesta.org. Most of her books are available to download it for free, and it's fantastic. And her interpretation in 1992 supposed that the Avestan white forest might be in fact in Central Asia. So she was picking up the Central Asia theory and represented as cane thickets. So it won't be a forest, it would be a bunch of bushes. And the white color of these bushes was from the core of the reed of the stem. And many other suggestions of the origins of whiteness for this forest may be offered, like all the plants, like the Regis ferula groves or the pistachio groves in Iran and Central Asia. So we have actually multiple plants and specimens that could be what inspired this white forest. But I really like the desert. I really like the desert interpretation, because I think it's groundbreaking. I mean, like, guys, hold on, but wait, what if? What if it was not a forest and we were wrong all along? What if the word rasura actually did forest, but, you know, desert, wilderness, desolated place? And then I like that Mary Boyce joined sort of the two schools of thought together. Like, she merged both traditions, saying, okay, what if it was not a forest, but some plants were involved? And then it was in an isolated place like the plains of Central Asia and had to do with these canes that are whitish when the stem is quite white. What if that was in fact what we are looking for? So this is everything we know about the white forest. Not so much, I have to admit, but I wanted to bring the topic to you and I wanted to talk about it because I do feel it's fascinating. We never stop learning about Zoroastrianism, and the fact that the focus is put in environmental history and the reconstruction of the importance of the environment in religion is now something that is a tendency in scholarly traditions. I think it's fantastic, and I hope I explained myself as good as I could. I am aware that the topic is different and perhaps not so entertaining, but I think it's fascinating because, as I always tell you, Bichar, context is super important, and nature and the environment have been ever present. We are human-centric enough in our way of constructing and reconstructing history. So I might as well bring you the other protagonists, who are the trees, the animals, because sometimes we just, learn about history with battles and political engagement and stuff, while actually these elements are fundamental for a better reconstruction of the historical discourse. But yeah, that is everything I have for you today. I really hope you enjoyed it. I've been talking for so long. Mi madre. That's everything I have for you today. Thank you so much for accompanying me today. Allow me to take a moment to remind my patrons, mecenas. You have to vote because, the poll is available. If you want to support the channel and get to vote what comes to the stream next, you could do so in Patreon. Just go check. Go check and find a tier that accommodates you. Thank you for the sponsoring of my patrons, because I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for your engagement and for your support and love as always. And thank you to you, Acha, for joining me in these very, very bushy and woody afternoon. I hope you have a wonderful start of your weekend, because we're almost there. Also, next week there's not going to be a live stream because I will be traveling, and I'm going to meet some of my bacha. In Madrid. We're going to go for an exhibition about Persian manuscript, and I am. Have you voted, Umberto? Because if you voted, it's you could vote for two. I mean, I want you to pick two, and so far, No Soy Ros and you have only voted for one each. I'm going to check again. Yes, just one each. Have you voted? Bachirim assemble. We are going to assemble the Bachirim, and I'm super excited. And so yeah, next week there won't be a live stream, but I shall resume soon. TM. And you were the first. So you vote for the Furusiya. I'm impressed. I really didn't think you were interested in horsemanship. But to each their own. I love animals, so yeah. If you don't vote, you're gonna allow No Soy Ros and Umberto to get their way. Is that what you want? Is that what you want our world to look like? Are you content with yourself while you're living in a world in which Umberto and No Soy Ros get away with everything? Just food for thought. Okay, so thank you so much, Bacha, for your company. I cannot depart without reminding you to continue creating, exploring, and having lots of fun. Until we see each other next time, I bid you Khodafis.